For us, I think the most important thing about associations are that we can use them to understand data sets better. So here's an example of a data set. I can tell that from how it's laid out, or I can check it using the head function. Yeah, so that's a data set, and I can work with it like usual for a data set. For example, this, even though it's displayed as a column, this gets me the first row of the data set, 3, 10. And if I want the first row, second column, I can access it like that. Or I could also access it with using the key for this column or using the name for this column. Okay, that's the exact same as 1, 2. And so let's go back to looking at this first row. And what is this? What is this first row? Well, it's still a data set, but I can convert it into an association. And then here I think you'll see the close relation between like a row of a data set and an association. So for example, if I ask what are the keys of the first row? Okay, so this is keys of a row in a data set. It gives me these keys A, B. Okay, on the other hand, if I were to do keys of data set, all give me the A column. Okay, and nothing shows up because there are no keys of these different rows. So for this particular type of data set, it makes sense to get the keys of a row, but not to get the keys of a column. So here are the keys of the second row. And so how did I make this data set? Well, let me show you up here. I actually made it as a list of associations. So it was a length 3 list. Okay, well, one entry for each, like one entry in the list for each row of the data set. First row, 3, 10. Second row, -4, 6. Third row, 10, -7, like that. And we can actually get back to that by doing normal of this data set, ds, and that converts it into a list of these associations. If I wanted, I could also have an association of associations, so I could change from a list to an association on the outside. And then here, this is going to be the value in the first row. And so I need to say what's the key of the first row. Okay, let me call it row 1. So here's the key. Then this association is the value. Okay, then I'll also give a key to this second row. Let me just name it something random. Okay, super random. And then here, let me call it row 3. And so now if I were to do what are the keys of the first column, hey, let's check that. What are the keys of all the rows in the first column? Okay, now it gives me these key names. Row 1, this random name, row 3. And seeing it like this, or maybe let's go back to the original one that had, because I think usually we're not going to have keys for our rows. We're just going to have a list. Okay, so let me get rid of some of those key names. So I'm changing the outer association into a list. And so looking at this, maybe you can see how we could add a new row to the bottom of this data set, or at least one way to do that. And I could do that using append. So I could say append to the data set, and then I just need something similar to what's written here. Okay, so this is going to put this association onto the end of the list. And let me make it a little more random looking. And maybe I'll end just with a common mistake. What if I want to get the fourth row, this 300, 1000? Okay, I can get that by doing ds brackets 4. And so do you see what I did wrong? Well, the problem is that this append, it doesn't change ds. Okay, so it makes an output, but it doesn't change ds. If I want to change ds, I could do append to. And now if I check this, hey, now it has a fourth row in it. Or another example, so like here is ds, and now let me go back to append, and let's do 50 and 100. So if I ask what's the fourth row of ds, okay, that looks good. What's the fifth row? Okay, well, exact same problem as we talked about before. If you don't want to use that append to, you could either do ds equals, or maybe it's a little safer if you're going to be like possibly repeating this to come up with a new variable name. Okay, like let's say new dataset. Okay, and now if I do new dataset here, okay, and now it does have this fifth row.